Okay, we're ready to start our workshop tonight. Thank you for coming. Aloha. Today, we're going to have great speakers for us. But before that, let's start with an opening prayer by Naoshi from Japan.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for this great opportunity to be here on earth and learn and grow. We thank for the great example of Jesus Christ and His atonement. And we ask Thee for guidance and help here so that we can have better vision for our future, so that we can help others better. Please bless today's speakers so that they can feel the Spirit and inspire others. May the Spirit be with us, and we ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Naoshi. Today, just like Naoshi mentioned, you are going to be inspired. And it's my honor to introduce Elder and Sister, I just forgot their name. Thomases, yes, Elder and Sister Thomases. And they are great, and they're gonna tell you a lot of stories. Get ready for that. Because what's the name of our workshop today? You don't know, okay. How to create a winning story. So they're gonna teach us how to create an amazing story that can get you everything and that can express you so that you go win that $5,000. Ready?
Stop, Spencer, stop. Okay. You guys are too kind. Welcome. I'm Elder Thomas. Sister Thomas is here behind me. Flora was just at our house the other day. She's already forgotten my name. That's good. This is a good sign. I'm sure things will go well. But we've got students. We've got a wonderful member of the faculty here. Brother Taggart's fantastic. He knows everything you ever need to know about this stuff. But what they've done is they've asked Sister Thomas and I to come and talk about how to develop or share a compelling story, okay? And I could tell some stories, but Micaiah's heard most of them, so I'm not going to share some of those. But instead of talking about that today, we're going to start by talking about baseball. We got anybody that knows about anything about baseball? Major League Baseball? Okay, Spence. Okay, all right, brethren, thank you. So right now, you're aware that the Major League Baseball in the U.S. is they're not playing. The owners, the players, they don't get along, and so they have postponed the beginning of the season. And I love baseball. Who can tell me how many players are on a Major League Baseball team? I'll give you 3 seconds because you'll look it up on Google. I know I'll find it in 3 seconds. Jacob, do you know how many players are on a Major League Baseball team? That's not right. Okay. It's 26. It's very close. 26 players. All right, we'll try for round 2. On a baseball team of 26 players, how many pitchers do they have? Spencer, do you know this one?
I would guess 7.
It's 12 to 13. Half of the players on a Major League Baseball team are pitchers, okay? Pitching must be somewhat important to the game, and it is. Everything kind of revolves. If you've got a good pitcher, you're going to do well, you're going to hold your lead in the game, and you're probably going to win at the end. So pitchers in Major League make a decent amount of money. They make at least $5 million every year, which is, significant to me, right? But they're highly paid. And in fact, the highest paid player in Major League Baseball in the U.S., Max Scherzer, the Mets are paying him $43 million a year to pitch baseballs. So there's something to this. There's something to pitching that is key to winning a baseball game, to a baseball team. It's no different in this competition. Your ability to pitch. You may have the greatest idea. Hopefully you do, and you can win $5,000. But you may have the greatest idea that you just can't, you're not able to share or explain, and you're not going to get far. And so pitching in this competition and in life is important. It's kind of like building a house. When they build a house, one of the first things they do is they frame it. You've driven by houses that are like this. There's some down the road that they're framing right now. They'll frame a home, and then they'll build the outside of it. If the framing is only so-so, or if it looks weird in one spot, and they build the house over the outside of that, the house is going to look weird. It's similar to our projects here today. If you can't frame your idea and you're tripping over yourself, just like Brother Taggart was saying 2 weeks ago, you need to be able to put in 2 minutes a very concise story and tell us the story and tell us why it's important and be done with it. You have 2 minutes to do that. So your pitch is super important. And so tonight, what we're going to talk about is what elements of the pitch have to be in there in those 2 minutes. The last 2 weeks, we've talked about some of these exact things. In fact, last week, I noticed as Jeff Christensen was talking, at one point he put up a slide and he said, don't ever use any of these words in your pitch. Do you guys remember that? I think you do, because I saw everyone hold up their phone and take a shot of that. And so you all have this on your phone. You know the words not to use. Sister Thomas, she has some really good slides coming up in a few minutes that I want you to pay attention. I think you're going to pull out your phone and take some shots of those too. But she's going to tell you the pieces of the pitch that need to be in there. She's going to tell you why those things need to be in there, and she's going to do everything she can to help you present a winning story to your idea, okay? So it's my goal to talk about why these things are important. McKay, could you read that for me? Right in the middle.
Knowledge about your idea, speaking clearly and succinctly, managing your time well, and utilizing communication skills are key.
Okay, these are the obvious ones. Thank you. These are the obvious ones. If you can do these things behind me, that is the beginning of putting together your presentation. And these things are key to your pitch, okay? So keep that in mind. They're common sense. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to explain to you how important a pitch really is. And the way I'm going to do it is I will tell you a story. Right, Micaiah? Right? Okay. You ready? I want you to take notes on this one, all right? I'm not going to tell you that story, but I will tell you a different one. An experience in... Or that one. Or that one either. Okay. But I will tell you one that Micaiah doesn't know about an experience that I had with pitching an idea. And this is accurate representation of me and two of my friends, Alan and Jim. I'm clearly the one in yellow, right? So Alan and Jim and I have known each other for many years. We're about the same age. We're all married. We all had kids at the same time, so our kids kind of know each other. Excuse me. Anyway, we would go to lunch. We would go to dinner often, and we would sit and talk about how great it would be if the three of us could just be in the same business. We really wanted to work at the same place. We were friends. We had some ideas. We kind of divided up the responsibilities. I was going to be the money guy. Jim was the accountant. He was the numbers guy. And Alan was just the third guy, okay? But there were some things that were holding back our plans, okay? One of the things that was holding back our plans was most of the time I was thinking about teeth. I was a dentist. I had a calling. I had a wife and kids. I had things that were taking up my life. Jim, most of the time, he was thinking about bulldozers. He worked for Caterpillar. He would sell a $700,000 or $800,000 piece of machinery anywhere in the world. And this was taking up his time with his wife and his kids as well. Alan, he seemed to have all kinds of time, right? He was like the third guy. He was a sales guy. And so he was kind of key to our plan. But because of these things, we were being held back in really taking a step forward into actually having a business together. And then one day, and so we're going to talk about bad pitching and better pitching. So one day Alan called me. I remember it was a Friday. He calls me and he said, hey, we're going to go over to Scott's house. And Scott was a friend of ours. I'd known him for a very long time. Super successful entrepreneur, one of the most successful men I have ever known, okay? And I said, you're going over to Scott's house because we're going over tomorrow. I told him you're coming. It's going to be great, okay? So we did. I picked up Alan. We're driving down there. We pull into Scott's house, massive mansion, walk through the front door. It was as big as those doors behind it, almost about as tall as those doors behind it, but it was impressive, right? I walk in, I sit in his living room with Alan, and we're chit-chatting because we have a lot in common. We were talking about this, we were talking about that, and Scott, as an entrepreneur, you know, your attention span as an entrepreneur is pretty short. He wanted to move things along, and so he said to me, he said, hey, I love you boys, I'm kind of busy today, is there something I can do for you? And I turned to Alan, and I looked at Alan, and he was looking up at the ceiling, and I'm like, Alan, help me out here. And he goes, oh, yeah, we're here to try to get a job in one of your businesses, which was a complete shock to me. I was not aware we were doing this. And I'm like, okay, let's go along with, let's see where this one goes. And he goes, and Scott's like, okay, I do have a few businesses. And he goes, yeah, I know, and you employ your family and friends, and you have lots of partners, and we just want to do that. And that was his pitch, and it was awful and painful for me to be sitting there in silence after that. So Scott, he kind of leans back, and he's like, okay, I do own several businesses. I actually own about 117 different businesses all over the world, everywhere from telecom companies to repo agencies to amusement parks, all over the world. I either own them outright, and I employ my friends or family, or I have partners. If you guys would like to be partners, I would love to do that. And he started in, and it was just painful. And he goes, you know, if you guys have like collateral, like your house, you can put that up. And if the business goes great, I'll make most of the money because I'll put most of the money in. But if it doesn't, I'm going to need your house. And I distinctly remember shaking my head, okay, no, this is not something. He goes, or, you know, if you want a job with me, I can get you a job, and it'd be great, but you're going to have to quit your other jobs. And I'm like, I don't think so. And he's like 3 feet away from me. I'm like, clearly nodding my head, this is not going to work. And he goes, okay, so what are you guys thinking? Now, I knew I was still thinking about teeth, and Alan wasn't thinking about much. Scott was thinking about Ferraris, because Scott had a fleet of about 40 of them in a massive garage right behind his house. And so I could tell he was thinking a little bit about business. He was maybe giving us 2% of his attention, and 98% was on these cars, okay? And so it was awkward pause, and Scott looks at Alan, and Alan is just mystified. He's like, I'm lost. I pitched. I thought it was great. And then he looks at me and he goes, so Mitch, why are you here? And I said, we're here to talk about Ferraris. And he goes, that's what I thought. And so we followed him out, and we looked at his Ferraris for 2 hours. And it was the most painful 20 minutes of my life as Alan gave this awful pitch with nothing behind it. It was just vapor behind it. And I was tied into it. And I remember we got back in my car afterward to drive home, and I'm like, what was that? And he goes, I know, it was great. I'm like, okay. It was not great. So anyway, this is an example of, oh, and there's the zebra involved. Okay, this was bad pitching, so I forgot the zebra. I'm sitting on the sofa, and I didn't know zebras are big. They're big. And there was a stuffed zebra head right over me, and it had a mouth that it was like coming down on me. I'm like, okay, is that thing bolted to the wall or what? It was bad. It was awful. I never want to go through another experience like that. I never want to see another experience like that as long as I live, okay? Awful pitching. Not long after that, I get a phone call from Jim. And Jim says, hey, I think we should cut Alan out of the business, and the two of us should go into a business. So I'm like, what do you got? And he goes, okay, I know this guy, Kevin. And we were in Arizona, Kevin was in Utah, and Kevin was selling his business. And he goes, it's a great business, it does really well. I think we should do it. I think we would do great with this. And I go, what's the business? And he goes, cabinets. They make cabinets. I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about cabinets. And he goes, it'll be fine. It'll be good. We're flying up there in 2 days. So over the next 2 days, Jim came to my house, I don't know how many times, with stacks of stuff, stacks of taxes, pro formas, projections, ideas, more taxes. He goes, read this in the next few minutes. And he'd drive home and get more stuff, and he'd bring it back. And I'm like, I'm not reading any of this. And he goes, you should read it. You should be prepared for this pitch. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't read any of it. And I assumed that Jim had read some of it. So we got on a plane to fly to Utah, and John, who is Jim's brother, owns a business in Utah Valley. And so his business was pretty close to Kevin's. So we go over to John's business. He's got this huge conference room. And Jim and I were sitting at one end of the table, and John was at the far end of the table doing his thing on the computer, talking to people, making deals, whatever. And we're going over the pitch. And we had it figured out, and we had it. It was all, this is going to be 10 minutes, and then you're going to take 15 minutes, and then I'm going to take 3 minutes, and I'm going to show them this chart. It was a lot. It was a lot, but it was super organized, and I was so happy I wasn't back with the Ferraris again, right? I'm like, yeah, okay, we're doing this. So we go down to Kevin's business at the appointed time. We go in there, and Kevin goes, look, I hate to tell you guys, you're the 5th group that's come to buy this business, so this better be good. And Jim's like, it will be. And he started laying out his plan, and he took all of his time and my time, which I'm not going to do to Sister Thomas. I'm not going to take all her time. But he was just slaying it as far as a pitch goes. I was impressed, and I knew some of the information. And he was like, yeah, last year you made this much money, but you did this, and you have this many employees, and now you have these vendors. And he was just crazy on fire. And we had an hour. And toward the end of the hour, Jim went rogue on me. And Jim said, okay. And he turned the page, and in red at the top, it says, discuss this. And I'm like, I'd never seen that page before. I would have remembered that page. It says, discuss this. And Jim is just on fire and going. And he goes, okay, Kevin, here's the facts. Your business is worth 25% of what you want to sell it for. And we're willing to give you 25% of what you're trying to sell it for. And my mouth dropped open, and Kevin's dropped open, and Jim's like, that's the deal. That's the deal. And here's why. Here's 10 reasons your business is terrible. Here's 50 things you can do to improve it that we're going to do to improve it, but it's worth what it's worth. And Kevin's like, okay, guys, I appreciate that. He kind of hastily pushed us out of his office. We get in the car, and I'm like, Jim, you have to discuss this thing. And he's like, I just thought of that about 20 minutes ago. And I go, and you have a red marker in your jacket? And he goes, I do. And he had highlighted it. It was just great. Well, we got a phone call about 10 seconds later saying, you guys are gone. I don't want anything to do with you. And so we go back to John's office to complain to each other about how bad this went. So we're talking about it and talking about why we did all these things. And John was listening to the whole thing. And so our plane was leaving for Phoenix, and so we're like, hey, thanks for letting us crash at your place. We got all our stuff, and we're walking out of the conference room, and John goes, wait a second. I've listened to you guys go over this pitch for this cabinet business. Would you be interested in buying half of my business? And he owned a very successful telemarketing company. Half of the companies in Utah Valley are telemarketing, right? About half. Okay, I don't know. But he goes, would you buy half of my business? And I'm like, telemarketing, let me think, no. And Jim goes, telemarketing, get me some papers on it. And so the two of them talked, even though they were brothers, they weren't super close. And in the end, Jim and John, because here's what John was thinking about the whole time we were sitting there in the boardroom, in his conference room. He was thinking about money and how he could learn from us and what he could learn from us. And in the end, he thought that we could bring value to his business. Jim and John became partners. Jim and John killed it in this business and did super well and sold it and bought 2 or 3 other businesses and did very well. And John recognized that the one thing he was missing in his business was somebody like Jim, somebody who he could send into a business meeting and kill it, and somebody that he could depend on to land huge accounts. And this is what Jim did. Jim kept his business selling bulldozers and kept this partnership in Utah, and you can do that. And business owners are looking for stuff like this. They're looking for people to fit, okay, into their company. What is our company missing? It's missing somebody who can communicate really well like Jim. And that was this case. Jim absolutely was way better at pitching than Alan was. It couldn't be more obvious to me. And it was just impressive to me to see a guy who had a successful business see in an hour that there was somebody there that could bring value to his business, and it did. And so this is what business owners are looking for, and I think that this is what this competition is looking for. You may have a fantastic idea, not a great idea, a fantastic, is that a thing? A fantastic idea, yeah. But if you aren't able to communicate really well or kill it on a pitch, then maybe you need a partner. Maybe you need to add somebody to your team that can pitch, like the baseball analogy. Maybe you need to have a group, because we all know that the people that win this competition typically are groups, right? There are some lone wolves out there who have great ideas and all the skills involved, but better chance if you could pull 2 or 3 people into your group that are balancing your group, you'll go farther, okay? And my last thing before I turn over to Sister Thomas, there are people in this room who can absolutely kill it on pitches. Do you know who they are? Yes, they're the return missionaries, right? You're out there, I know you are, and you're not gonna raise your hand if I say who's a return missionary, but you should. Return missionaries have been schooled and taught and had experience pitching ideas, but sharing their beliefs with all kinds of people. And it's hard to do. And it's hard to convince yourself to do if you're not comfortable with it. But you did it. You return missionaries, you did it. And you were good at it. In this competition, if you have a group and you don't have a return missionary in there to do the pitch, you're a step behind. Because these RMs, you RMs out there, are valuable. Same time, if you're a computer guy and you're like, I don't have an idea, but I'm a computer guy. I can do apps. I can do web pages. You're valuable too. And so you can see how I'm saying, as you put together your group with your great idea or fantastic idea, that you need somebody to pitch and you need people to back that, okay? You don't just want to have a great idea that you can't share with anybody, because it's just not going to go very far. I had the best, just say even better pitching on this slide. The best, and I've known a lot of guys, and Chris and I know how to network, and we know people, and I was trying to think, who is the best person I've ever known in my life that can pitch? And I was telling Sister Walker this story the other day. But I had a mission companion, and I'm a big dude, he's a bigger dude. He was 6'8", right? Ray-Bans all the time. He wears Ray-Bans indoors because he just looked cool, right? Tan. I'm serving in Florida, and I inherited this guy from his trainer who just couldn't deal with him. And I'm like, oh, great, this is gonna be good. Absolutely, hands down, one of the best missionaries I've ever seen. One of my favorite companions, hands down, I absolutely love the guy. This guy, to just give you a 30-second view into his life, he could talk to anybody. He was a radio DJ. And so we had the radio voice. And whenever he'd pull out the radio voice, I'm like, oh yeah, I just sit back and let him do the radio voice thing. He could share the Book of Mormon with anybody. He could get us an appointment with anybody. In fact, the problem was that the appointments would never end. He would just be talking, they're like, first appointment, can I get baptized today? And I'm like, no, you cannot do that. You need to take the steps, right? He was just so good at sharing what he believed and what he knew. And he wasn't a scriptorian. He was just super good at talking to people. He could talk to anybody. He could talk to everybody, okay? This guy, I was telling Sister Walker the other day, that it rains in Florida, if you've never been there, right? Every day at 4 o'clock, it pours buckets. I don't know why. It's just a weird thing, right? So every day at 4, if we're out, we stay in the car, because by the time you get from your car into somebody's house, you're soaked. It's ridiculous, right? So sometimes we sit in the car, and I'm like, this is terrible. Or we try to be in somebody's house at 4 when the rain comes. It's weird. It's Florida. I love Florida. So a lot of times we were close to our apartment at 4, and on purpose, because we'd go there, we'd just decompress for an hour, and then the sun would come out, and then we were out rocking and rolling again. During that hour, we wanted to be productive, and so he and I got this game figured out. I don't know, we didn't have a name for it. We just had to play this game every day we were in our apartment at 4. Do you know what a phone book is? Do you guys have phone books? You know what a phone book is. Okay. We had a phone book. And the game was that I could turn to any page, hit a name, a number, and he would call that number, and he would try to get us in that door. Cold call, out of the cold, right? And then if he couldn't do it, he would do the same thing. He'd pull out a name, and he's like, call, and and we'd try to find, scan the page. I'm going to find the weirdest name I could. Okay. This is how this game went. He never, ever lost, ever. He was never not able, and I went to the ZZZ guy, nailed it. It was a housewife. It was a 13-year-old girl, and he's like, put your mom on the phone, and he's talking to mom, inevitably. And the loser, which was always me, I got tired of it, would have to be the one to knock on the door, to explain the thing, to give him the book, and do the discussion with them. I had to do that because he beat me every single time. I could go first, I'd fail, he'd win, and he'd just laugh his head off. He thought it was hilarious, right? So it got to be less fun for me, and so I said, okay, here's the thing. We're going to go from the white pages to the yellow pages, okay? If you don't know yellow pages, that's the business book, right? So I would turn to the muffler shop. And I'm like, muffler shop. Okay, are you ready? Here's the number. Every freaking time, we're going to the muffler shop. And I have to give a Book of Mormon to a guy in the parking lot on his break because my companion Jed killed it. There was nobody like this guy. There's nothing he couldn't talk people into. There was nothing he couldn't do. He was unlimited in his ability to communicate. And so as a team, he was a great team member. I encourage you in this competition to find somebody sitting in this room or not, or somebody that's a roommate or somebody that you know that can help with pitching, because pitching does it for you. You may have an okay idea, but if you can pitch it well, you'll go far. Okay, so everybody get your phones out. Sister Thomas is going to tell you the important stuff. But hopefully I've got the point across that this is important. This is important in this conversation, in this competition. This is important for the rest of your life. Okay, fire away, Sister Thomas. Look, I'll put it down for you. Okay, sure.
Okay, so I know this guy, Jed. This guy could sell ice to an Eskimo. He was the amazing communicator that Elder Thomas just described. Also, Jed was no rocket scientist. Good guy, but not a rocket scientist, which reminds me of an article I read in the church news last week about an actual rocket scientist. This man is a member of the church, and he graduated from Arizona State University aerospace program with a graduate degree. I mean, he's brilliant, right? He's literally a rocket scientist. He has all this knowledge. He thinks he's just going to walk out down the street and 10 people are going to want to hire him. Didn't happen. He could not get a job. He has all this knowledge. He's so smart, and he cannot find a job. Someone referred him to the church's self-reliance classes about finding employment, and he said it was quite humbling. And he went in, and he realized that he had all this knowledge, but he did not have the communication skills, nothing like this Jed guy in comparison. So thankfully in this life, we get to learn skills, right? So he learned some communication skills. He beefed up his resume. The service missionaries taught him communication skills, how to interview, how to talk to people, because he just wasn't really good at that. He eventually did get a job. He is now working in Tucson, Arizona, and he sends off rockets that, in the article it said, they literally save the world. I don't know what that means, but I mean, he's an important guy. And he got this job because he learned the skills of how to communicate. He learned how to pitch himself in an interview to potential employers. He learned, it took several months, but he learned. We can all learn these same skills. We are not all perfect at communicating or at the computer. We have the chance in this life. Heavenly Father's given us all these opportunities to learn these different skills. So we're going to try to help you learn some skills about pitching. What makes a good pitch? I don't know. I don't care. I want to make a great pitch. So we're going to learn about what it takes to make a pitch great. Pitch must-haves. I've got 6 of them. Excuse me. The first one, you need to tell your story. You need to tell why your product or service matters. Tell your story. For example, how did you get your idea? Why? What need does it fill? Is it something that you saw a need for yourself, your family, friends? Why are you so passionate about this? Your pitch needs to be, your story needs to be personal, it needs to be authentic, it needs to be genuine. It's always great if you can evoke emotion, and I don't mean you get up there and you cry, or you want the judges to cry, I'm not saying that, but you can evoke an emotion. So I want to tell a quick story about this little guy here. If you're a parent, you probably know what he's wearing on his little left foot there. It looks like kind of like a sock. It's called an owlet. So these 3 guys are in college, these 3 friends. I think this is in, I want to say 2016, I could be wrong. So one of these friends works in a hospital, and he helps people get the pulse oximeter on and keep it on. I don't know if you've ever had that. It's like a little sleeve you stick your finger in, and it has a cord, and it hooks up to the machine, and it helps, it tells if you have, if your heartbeat is racing, or if your pulse is off or on, or if you're losing breath, all these different things. And then if you take it off, or if any of those things go wrong, it sends off all these alarms, and nurses and doctors run, and they try to save your life. So that's what a pulse oximeter is. Well, this guy is working in the hospital, and he's working with these patients, and they're all so annoyed with this thing. I don't know if you've ever had it, but it is annoying. It has this long cord, and as soon as you take it off, blah, 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 everything goes on. He found it very annoying. So he thought there must be a way we can go wireless on this. At the same time, there's more to the story. I won't share all of it. But at the same time, or around the same time, another of these friends, a second one in this group, someone from his family tragically lost a little baby infant son to respiratory failure while he was sleeping, or SIDS. It's a fairly, sadly, uncommon, it is a common cause of death in infants. How tragic. These 2 guys got together and saw a need. What if we have something that is wireless that can check on the health of an infant, and then warn the parents if necessary, so that we don't lose these sweet little newborn babies to SIDS anymore? That's how the owlet product was born. So they had this idea. They wanted to make it their story. So they shared this. You can watch it on YouTube. They shared this story. You can see how it is their story. It's genuine, it's real, it's emotional. There's a need. They can help parents have peace of mind when they bring these sweet little newborns into their homes, and then they don't have to worry. They don't stay awake all night watching to make sure the little newborn is breathing. There was a need, and it was powerful. This is the why behind their story. You need to have a why behind your story. Make it powerful, make it real. Answer the questions of why. Why did you come up with this idea? Why do you have this product? Why is it good? Make it your story. All right, next, you need to be concise. Tell only the essentials. So I don't know if you can read this. I'm going to read it. It says, it's these cavemen. And he says, fire good. All like fire. But sometimes fire not good. That's why Og make exciting new product. Og call it bucket of water. Okay, I love this. I think it's great. Concise, to the point, quick, we're done. Maybe you don't need to make yours quite that concise. But as you can see, it actually fulfills both the first 2 must-haves. It tells the why, and it's very concise. Judges don't need to hear that you were surfing and then you got in your flip-flop, got lost, and then you dropped your phone while you were talking to your mom because you're looking for your keys. They don't need to hear any of that. Tell them the essentials of your idea, your business. Why? Tell them why. Tell them your story in concise, essential components that are thorough, essential items, okay? The third, include your business model or your business plan. Obviously, this is just a template. You can use this, you can use something like this, you don't have to use this at all. You do whatever you want that works for your business plan, but you gotta have something that is talking about some of the numbers. It doesn't have to be complicated. It needs to give basic information. How much of your product have you sold or plan to sell? What's the price? What does it cost to make or acquire this product? What's your plan to increase sales? What customer are you targeting? Are you going to hire employees? All of these things have costs associated with them, and the judges need to see what those are estimated to be, or what they have been if you've already sold some of your product. Okay, so a business plan, business model is a must-have. Fourth, you must address or at least acknowledge your competition. Don't come to the judges and say, there's nothing like this, and so I have no competition. That's not gonna fly. There's always competition in business, always. So, what is it? Who is your competitor? Why is your service or product better than your competitor? Is it more accessible? Does your product or service have a more useful feature to your targeted customer? Is it a healthier option? For example, what if I make Oreo cookies? I should say, Nabisco makes these awesome Oreo cookies, and they're so great. I make Oreo cookies, but they're healthier. They don't have all that fat and calories. They're awesome. Acknowledge your competition. Tell them why yours is better. Last week, Brother Christensen talked about how a company that he was looking at to take care of his lawn, I believe it was, all they kept saying was, we have this, we do this, we're this, we do this. Customers love us because we are this. He said they never acknowledged him as a customer or any of the competition. So maybe they could have said something like, ABC Lawn Care over here will mow and trim your lawn. We'll do the same thing, but we'll also treat the crabgrass to make it healthier and greener, okay? Acknowledge your competition, tell why your product or your service is better and fills a need. Also, last week, Brother Christensen told us that it doesn't work to say that your product is less expensive than your competition. If that's the only thing you have about your competition, it's not gonna fly. If they're charging $100 for lawn care and you're charging $90, that's great, but it's not gonna be sustainable. You might get more customers in the short term, but in the long run, you won't be able to sustain that. So if that's your only thing, you gotta come up with something better. Come up with a reason why you have this business. Why is it different from your competitor? All right. Fifth, if you have your product, show it. You've all seen Shark Tank, right? They all bring a sample. They give them a sample to eat or try on or wear or touch or something. If you have a product, bring it if you can. If you can't bring it, if it's not made, because that's why you're here, you're trying to get some money so you can make the product, that's okay. You don't have to bring it. At least bring a picture of it. Show the judges what you're, is it the size of a car or is it something they hold in their hand? Is it, bulky? Is it big? Show them. I got this one. I don't know if you can see it. They made vegan sandals. I didn't know there was such a thing, but I thought that was kind of cool. So bring your vegan sandals to show that that's what you want to sell and the purpose of it. Visualizing your product or service can go a long way. All right, finally, presentation is key. Be enthusiastic. You want to show the judges the way you speak and in your body language why you are passionate about your business. So before you do your pitch, take a deep breath and just kind of calm down, okay? So that's my first thing. Speak clearly, loudly, and slowly. Take your mask off. We don't need to hear. It's too muffled. Take your mask off. Speak clearly, loudly, slowly. And sometimes, a lot of times, people, when they get nervous, they speak very fast and and you can't understand, and then calm down. Just take a breath. Slow down. Dress and act professionally. That doesn't necessarily mean that guys, you gotta wear a suit and tie, and ladies, you gotta wear a dress. You just need to look and act professional. Don't show up in t-shirt and flip-flops. That's all I'm asking, okay? Be enthusiastic. You don't need to bring your pom-poms and jump and shout and scream and do all that, but you can be enthusiastic in your body language, in your eye contact, in the way you speak. You can be enthusiastic about the way you talk about your service or your product. Be passionate. Show them how much you care about this and why it's so important to you. And then practice, practice, practice. I want you to practice until you are blue in the face. I want you to practice until you're dreaming about it every night. Practice. So here are some tips on practicing. If I were you, I would practice, first of all, in front of the mirror and watch yourself. Am I using my hands all the time? Am I speaking too loud? You can learn a lot about yourself if you look in the mirror, okay? So practice in front of the mirror. Then I would get my phone out and I would set it on a table and record myself making that pitch. Then watch it and watch yourself and try to be objective. Try to think how a judge would think. What do I look like when I'm presenting? How am I speaking? Can I understand myself? Am I making eye contact, or am I looking over here and the camera's over here? All these things, make sure you look at it and then change, rework your pitch. This is why we practice. Practice in front of everyone you can think of, anyone who will listen to you. Practice, okay? Friends, family, whoever. And if you get a really nice friend, you could ask them to listen and then have them repeat back to you what the product is or what the service is. If they can do it pretty easily, you're doing good. If they're like, I don't know, then you need to rework your pitch. Make it clearer, make it more, explain it better, okay? Another really good way, get a couple of 5 or 6 or 7-year-olds, give your pitch to them. Kids are brutally honest. They're awesome. They're brutally honest. If they can explain to you what you said to them, you're golden. If they can't, you got to rework it, okay? You want this to be simple, simply explained, thorough, succinct, professional, all these things that we've been talking about. All right. A couple weeks ago in our class, we teach Entrepreneurship 180. We divided the class into groups, and each group had to do an elevator pitch to us. And then Elder Thomas and I got to judge, and we picked a winning group, and it was really fun. It was really cool. So I have asked Paige, who was the winner of in our class, to come up and pitch her idea just like she did in our class. And so she's going to come up and do her little pitch for us. I want you to see how well she does and if she checks off all these little must-haves that we just talked about. So, take it away, Paige.
Okay, I'm totally an amateur, so we'll see. But I'll just do it, exactly like I did it.
Yeah, do it.
Okay, and I'll kind of do it to you guys, but I'll speak to you guys. Okay, Thomases, I have this sick idea to run past you. So what does everybody do to start their day here? They start out with a cup of coffee, right? And where are they going? Starbucks, of course. So, as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we don't do that. We don't do coffee, right? But picture this. We throw in a food truck at the PCC. We call it Star Truck. And in this food truck, we do hot chocolate, we do cold chocolate, we do kind of everything that Starbucks does, but we do it better. With this, we're advertising the word of wisdom for free, right? And the entire community around us, we're predominantly members of the church. So we can all participate in this, in buying one of these drinks. And so we do it just like Starbucks does. We do a small, medium, and large, but we name them the Hawaiian name. So I don't know them, but small, medium, and large in Hawaiian, $5, $6, and $7, right, for those. And then we have minimum employees. We only need 2 employees working at a time, and it's gonna be awesome. So what do you say?
Awesome, right? Did she check them all off? I believe so. I think she explained the why. We need that because we don't drink coffee, right? She explained why her product is better. She gave us basic numbers so that we'll kind of be able to know how much it will cost. She was concise yet thorough. And how about that enthusiasm? I mean, she is a believer of this Star Trek enterprise she's going to start. Thank you, Paige. That was perfect, and I appreciate it. So, like I said, we judged each group. Her group won. They did get a prize. It wasn't $5,000, but they did get a prize. So speaking of judging, let's talk about the judging criteria for Empower Your Dreams. If you are entering as a pre-revenue, revenue, or young entrepreneur, these are the judging criteria. This is the sheet that the judges will have. This is also on the website, just so you know, so you can get it from there. You're welcome to take pictures or whatever you want to do. But let's just read through these real quick. So for sustainable business principles, is there a sound business model and business plan? Is the business or idea scalable, meaning can it grow? And how are you going to do that? Value proposition. Does the idea or business introduce new ideas or improve existing ones? Does the service or product provide value to customers? That's the why. Presentation. Is the sound audible and is the idea explained clearly? Are ideas explained creatively, professionally, and succinctly? And finally, what is the likelihood that this idea will succeed? Okay? For those entering under the social impact category, it's very similar, but there are a few changes. So, sustainable business principles. Is there a sound business model and plan? How does your plan address non-consumption? Is the idea or business scalable? Again, meaning can it grow? The value proposition, are you clear about what problem you are solving? How does your solution improve the quality of life for those in need? And is it clear that your solution is a market-creating innovation? Presentation is the same. Is the sound audible and is the idea explained clearly? Are ideas explained creatively, professionally, and succinctly? Finally, what is the likelihood that this idea will succeed? Okay? So again, like I said, all of this is on the website. Make sure you go to the website. It gives you all of the information as far as what the competition is about, the judging criteria, dates, deadlines, videos, past winners, all kinds of information. So refer to that, and you can always also ask any of the faculty or TAs if you have any questions. So we're so excited to see your ideas and hear your pitches. This will be great. So, any questions? None. Awesome. Okay, so Elder Thomas is going to come up and tell you about the workshop we have planned for afterwards, and then Flora, it's up to you. Okay?
Yeah, sort of. Okay. So the last 2 weeks, we've had, at the end, right, I think there's snacks. Are there snacks? Okay, good. You gotta be snacks. I'm not promising something I can't deliver. There's snacks, and then we do the workshop for about a half hour, which consists of, students kind of milling around, kind of deciding what to do. I think that would be the perfect time for you to convince Paige to join your team. If you can't, maybe you want to ask her if you can join her team, because she's got it. No, what we're going to do, what I'm going to propose is, we've talked to several students about their projects, right? And Sister Thomas and I have found a common thread, a common issue, and that is that there are students who have projects who need somebody else in their group, okay? And they don't know people, or they don't know the right people. They don't know someone with communication skills or with tech skills or whatever, like I talked about before. And so what we thought we'd do tonight is divide the room in half, all right? If you want to go get a snack and come back and do traditional workshop like we have the last 2 weeks, you do it on this side. If you're one of those students who has an idea and also has a need, I wanted to call it speed dating. Sister Thomas didn't like that name, and so we're not going to call it that, but it's that, okay? I'm not going to facilitate any of it, but let's meet over here, and it's up to you, okay? This is going to be the rest of your life anyway. You may as well do it now. Open your mouth, say, hey, I have this project, or I have this idea, or I have this skill. What do you do? What can you add? Can we combine forces? Excuse me. We're going to do that on this left side, okay? But hey, and there's nothing that says if you're an army of one and you think you're going to nail it, then do it. That's great. I mean, we're just here to try to help you succeed if we can help. I mean, there's plenty of faculty here tonight that can help answer questions about your project. Any concerns that you have, come to us or come to our offices. We're happy to help any way we can. But I think that will help some of the projects that are going right now. All right, so normal, speed dating. Can I call it speed dating, Eli? Okay, yeah, we're good with that. All right, Flora, thank you for conducting tonight.
Thank you, Elder and Sister Thomas. We will end with a closing prayer, and then we're going to do the workshop. So you can have up to 8 o'clock, and we will start the workshop by the 8 o'clock. And we will have the closing prayer by Aubrey from California.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this day, thankful for all that Thou hast given us. We're thankful for this opportunity to be here for this workshop. We're thankful for all of the things that we've learned, and bless us that we can implement these things into our projects and that we can do our best work, Father. We're thankful for the opportunity to get an education, and bless us that we can have the Spirit with us throughout this project and throughout the rest of the night. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
So you can go get refreshment outside.